I just saw They Will Kill You, and I'll start by saying that it's not nearly as racially charged as I expected from the trailer. They do make a line about how working as a maid tends to attract poor minorities and the uber wealthy are all whites, but they sort of bake it into the story a little bit, and it really isn't the focus. They seem slightly more interested in old money versus the current working class, but again, they don't really focus on that either. Someone also skimmed a copy of Dante's Inferno, but that's also pretty weak set dressing for this movie. Now, these all sound like criticisms, which they are, but let me say that overall, I had a much better time with this movie than I expected. The trailer really didn't interest me, but it was on HBO, so I sat down to give it a go one morning after a night of drinking too many delicious Miller High Lifes. That's right, Miller High Life, the champagne of beer, perfect for any occasion. And yes, I'm open to sponsorship. I already have a hat and baseball jersey, so I'm so close to being their version of Duffman. But I digress. I was having a lazy day and decided to throw the movie on. As I said, this movie was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. The plot's a little lazy, but the movie is, quick, coming in at like 90 minutes. The violence is silly and fun with some pretty decent set pieces. Choreography for the fights is okay. Nothing groundbreaking, but it gets the job done. The gore is where the movie shines, and it is worth watching for this sequence involving an eyeball alone. You'll know it when you see it. It felt very Evil Dead at times, and I really did appreciate that. Acting is kind of serviceable, but then again, nothing that will stand out or truly stand the test of time. The movie knows it's a B movie, and it's just there to have some fun and entertain you, which it admirably does. For the most part. I'll be diving into some spoilers from this point forward, but if you have HBO, it is a fun beer and pretzel movie with some pacing issues, but ultimately delivers on the promise of the trailer, which I appreciate now more in retrospect. So let's get into it. It starts paint by numbers enough about two sisters running away from their abusive father, who is white, and I rolled my eyes. I thought, here comes that racially charged movie the trailer makes me think. But nope. As the encounter progresses, though, it did feel a little bit more like he was their father in quotations in more of a cult community setting that they were trying to escape. And I immediately thought that this would be used as the background for the two sisters, and it would explain how the one sister has such a capacity for violence, being brought up in maybe like a doomsday cult or something. But nope, just an abusive father come looking for his kids. She shoots and wounds him, then runs when the police show up. Enter the time jump. And now Zazie Beetz Asia is looking for her grown sister Maria, and leads to the Virgil high rise where she assumed the identity of another woman so she could infiltrate the building, because this was Maria's last known location. The movie doesn't waste any time getting into the violence, and honestly it was pretty good. I mean, killing Tom Felton so quickly does kind of tip the hand that these people are not staying dead for very long, and sure enough, they are part of a demonic cult from the early days of New York City, hence being mostly Irish and English and, well, overall just white. But over time, they would let other members into their cult, so the numbers have grown since the inception of the Virgil. Now, as mentioned, it is called the Virgil, and they talk about how each floor is dedicated to a different sin, but they really only show us the lust level, and it's kind of weak. The top level, in this case, is where Satan resides, and it is sort of a frozen loft, so again, weak tie-in to Dante. Rather than the big fight in this, there's a big fight in a dining hall / ballroom, which I honestly thought was a bit boring and kind of like awkwardly put into and timed into the movie, if I'm being 100% with you. I would personally prefer a montage of Asia maybe fighting a small number of members from each sin floor. I think that would have been a lot more fun and better showcase some of the Dante of it all. Plus, in a movie full of gore, just imagine her gutting some people on the gluttony level. Or even maybe just ignore Dante's Circles of Hell and just do the 7 deadly sins people are more familiar with. But again, this is just a personal preference. Speaking of personal preference, I did not like the ending. Long story short, if you write your name on Satan manifested into a pig head, you cannot die. If they remove your name, you can die. Maria writes Asia's name on Satan pig head so she can kill everyone. And after one of the most ridiculous and honestly enjoyable fights in the movie, the head is destroyed. Everyone is dead except Asia, who cut the flesh with her name on it off Satan Pig before destroying the Satan Pig head. Now, the flesh is shown to still pulse and move despite being removed from Satan Pig, and is then shown to still grant immortality as Asia writes over her name to make it say Maria, which resurrects Maria at the end. I hated this. Absolutely hated this. This opens up so many questions. Like, no one thought to cut their names off the Satan Pig. I get that if that were an option, Satan Pig would probably not want to advertise it as it would diminish his control over their immortality. But then also, if that flesh is still alive, will Satan Pig regenerate? Will he regenerate? And if so, wouldn't it be beneficial for Satan Pig to encourage his minions to write their name on his flesh and then cut it off and put it in a vault or something, you know? It's just kind of a lazy, dumb ending that so desperately wanted to be a happy ending for the sisters. It just isn't earned. Keeping Maria dead would have been a much better ending. Maybe even do some sequel baiting, with the private eye saying, I did some research. There is a Virgil in L.A., the city of angels. Next adventure also loosely following the Divine Comedy, something along those lines. But I am sure they will not get a sequel. This movie is rumored to have a production budget of $20 million and worldwide made just over 19, which is honestly more than I would have expected, but still a bomb, especially considering advertising and, what theaters take per ticket. I'm not surprised, though, honestly. The trailer looks like another minority girl boss killing white people, and your average person's like, okay, another one of these racially charged movies, hard pass. I certainly thought that would be the case myself when I saw the trailer. But like I said, having seen the movie, I think the trailer delivers on the promise of what the movie actually is and will be. I just think audiences are tired of anticipating lectures instead of entertainment. So let me close by saying that this movie is definitely made with entertainment in mind. It's bloody fun, but flawed, and you could do a lot worse with your time. Anyway, thanks for listening. Catch you on the flippy flop. That one's for Bicky.